If I had to start all over again, I don't know if I would. For one, it's really expensive to start, to get the ball rolling. And unless you set aside a specific amount of money for whatever business you want to create, there are going to be things that you didn't think of unless you research in depth, had a friend that's done this before, watched a YouTube video. So for one, I had to create a DBA, and that was $150. I also wanted to get my product Vino cards trademarked, and that was $250 alone. I also needed to get sticker paper, computer paper, bubble wrap, tape, all sorts of supplies to keep the product safe and whatever I needed to market it. The next step would be to actually have a physical product. So there are things like design that you have to think of. And for me, it was $2,000. And specific to my product, I wanted a sommelier to review the wine facts, and that was about $100. And depending on where you're manufacturing your product, whether it's overseas or domestically, you'll have to think about things such as a bond, documents to clear customs, all those kind of things. So there's quite a bit. I'll list them here. And again, if you need the product shipped to you or if you're shipping directly to Amazon, you'll have to think of air shipping and sea shipping, and the prices can vary quite a bit. And these were my costs right here. This was to ship my product Vino cards over to me. And of course, there's also the actual cost of each individual product that you have. And one of the biggest mistakes that I've made thus far is ordering way too many boxes of Vino cards. I started out with ordering 2,000 boxes, and the reason for that was because if you order more inventory, the cost of the product goes down quite a bit. I ended up spending $10,000 on just the product. $10,000 is steep when you're starting off with your first business ever, and I really do wish I would have ordered 500, even maybe 1,000 max, and that would have cut the price in half, even more so. And I raised $5,000 on a Kickstarter before actually creating the product. And if I would have ordered 500 units, the cost of the product would have been completely covered from my Kickstarter funds. I would recommend when you're trying to decide how many units to order to have about 3 to 6 months of inventory. That way you have time to receive the product, check it out, make sure everything's good with it, and if you're ready to make another production run and have another version of your product, a version 2.0, you'll have only about 3 to 6 months of inventory before you can switch it out and start new. So I really wish I would have done that. There are things I want to change on Vino cards, and so now I'm stuck with quite a few units. I still have a little less than 1,000 left, and it's almost been a year and a half at this point, so that is a huge mistake on my part as far as cost and spending a lot. And this leads into reason number 2 why I'm not sure if I would do this all over again. Amazon fees are expensive, and I've talked about this before, but truly the fees can add up, and it's money that you're losing out on when you're using the platform. So the first thing I'll break down for you is the FBA fees. So just to sell your product on Amazon, the selling fee is around $5,000. Next, there's transaction fees, and that amounts to about $3,700. There are a lot of other random fees. I would include storage fees into this other category, and that amounts to about $1,300. There's also PPC costs, which is another $2,200. So all of these fees are over the course of 1 year, but it's quite a bit from the overall revenue that I've made. So the actual profit that I end up with is much less than that big revenue number. So that initial startup cost can really create some struggle at the beginning. And this is why I say that I don't think it's for everyone unless you really break down everything, and just keep in mind all of these fees that you necessarily wouldn't account for at the beginning unless you know about it and heard from other people. And this leads me to reason number 3 why I don't believe Amazon is for everyone. It's a struggle to start. And as I mentioned earlier, there are a ton of expenses to begin, but there's also a lot of lifestyle changes that you need to make. Even before I started my business Vino cards, I was working for another company full-time, and I would often come home and see my boyfriend Travis work on his business, Performance Nut Butter, and he was working from home, living the life that he's been working so hard for, and he had a lot of freedom throughout the day and just raved about Amazon. So when I was seeing that and hearing him talk about it, I got excited and thought this was a really cool venture to pursue, and I wanted to have that kind of freedom for myself. So I expressed my excitement to Travis, and he was really excited to help me start a business as well and teach me his ways. But then I started thinking about finances and money and how I needed this job right now to pay for the bills and my student loans, and I just got a little nervous and said, you know what, I'll keep that in mind, but I don't think I'm quite ready for that just yet. Over some time, I still had that idea in my head of how exciting it would be to just work from home and wake up when I wanted to and just have that freedom. Travis and I talked about it more, and he said, I could really help you start a business. We just have to come up with an idea. So we brainstormed ideas, came up with Vino cards, and partnered together on this business. We started brainstorming ideas for a passion product, crunched some numbers to see if this is something we can collaborate on, and ultimately became partners in this business. Then the real hard work started. It was the hard work of creating a community to get them hyped up about Vino cards. I created a Facebook launch group, added everyone I knew, and then asked everyone I knew to invite who they knew to the group. I had an Instagram, an email list so that I can update everyone leading up to a Kickstarter that I had. I set a goal for our Kickstarter. It was a $5,000 goal, and we surpassed that. So it was a really exciting few months to get people hyped up for this, and all of that hype led to reaching our goal on Kickstarter. So that was amazing. Once we had success with the Kickstarter and saw that there was interest in the product, we had to begin designing it and actually creating a physical product and fulfill all of those people that had bought on the Kickstarter. The designing of the cards took a few months. I hired a designer that Travis has used previously, and we worked on iterations for months. We went back and forth through email and made sure that the product itself, each card for Vino cards, was perfect in the way I wanted it to look. While I was going through that process, I would also post on that Facebook launch group all of the iterations I was making and leading them through that journey with me. And they would provide a lot of feedback. It helped me make sure that I was making a product not only what I wanted it to look like, but a product that they would enjoy, that they would want to buy and share with everybody. Post Kickstarter, it was about another 4 to 5 months of all of that I just mentioned: designing, creating the product, getting feedback, and that doesn't include the actual manufacturing process. So once I was done completely finalizing the product, I sent it over to the manufacturer, and they took about 5 to 6 weeks to manufacture the product. And that whole process took a lot longer than I was anticipating, and it delayed the time that I told everyone from the Kickstarter that I'd give them their product. So I was 2 months behind at this point, and I spent that extra money to get it air shipped to me. It was much quicker than sea shipping. I had them send me a certain amount and the rest to just send overseas. I didn't need it as urgently as I did for the Kickstarter boxes. Once I've sent out all of the Kickstarter boxes, I began exploring the Amazon platform, and I wanted to send the remaining inventory to their warehouses. And this is where the actual manual labor and even more hard work came into play. All of my inventory had to have these individual unique codes, and I do those every month. Anytime I need to send in inventory, I open up each box, take out each individual box within that box, and add that sticker code to them. And it takes a lot of time. So now that the holiday season is over, I am low on inventory at the Amazon warehouses. So I am sending in 20 Vino card boxes. Each box itself contains 16 individual boxes, and for its safety, so that there aren't any damages to each box, it's double boxed, so I have to open each one, as you can see here, and put the Amazon labels on them. So that is how I'm spending my workday this afternoon. It will take a couple of hours to go through it, but I take this time to listen to an audiobook and just help pass the time. And that's just something I'll have to do until my next run, where I'll probably have my manufacturer add those codes for me. I'll spend that extra money so that it saves me time during those maintenance days of having to send in inventory. It'll just make the process much smoother, and I can send them directly into the Amazon warehouse. So backing up a little bit, once I received all of my sea shipments, it was about 1,500 boxes that I needed to store, and I store them in my parents' garage. Luckily, they're helping me out with that. I do not have room in this apartment. I then signed up for Amazon, submitted all of my information about my business, waited for the Amazon approval. The first time that I did that, it actually did not get approved, and I don't remember the details anymore of what exactly happened, but there were things I needed to change and prove about my business, and started to do it again. But that delay in time really stressed me out, but we were able to figure it out. I asked Amazon questions, I had to email them and call, which took a lot of time, but we figured it out. I finally had my Amazon account, my seller account. I then sent about 10 boxes for the very first time to the Amazon warehouse, just in time for the holiday season. And the holiday season is the biggest time for me, so it was just perfect timing. I was really happy with that, and it was all, well, not smooth sail after that, but it was much less of a stress point at that time. So at this point, my product has finally launched on Amazon. This is where I can breathe a little easily now. I have everything set up on Amazon. I send an inventory when they let me know that I'm running low, and it's pretty much automated at this point. For the first 7 months, Vino Cards was selling on Amazon, and it was running in the background completely automated, which was great because I was still working at my full-time job. At the 7-month mark, I realized that my sales weren't where I necessarily wanted them to be. I wasn't selling very much each week, and I knew that I could do so much better. And the holidays were coming up again, and that is the biggest time of year. So I did, after a lot of thought and discussions with Travis and figuring out if this was the best solution for me, I did quit my full-time job, and now my full-time job is working on my business, and that has made all the difference. It has opened up time for me to work on the business and to really push it as much as I can. And I do want to let you guys know that this isn't just an overnight thing. As I've explained, it does take a lot of money and time and struggle to get to a point where I am now. And this brings me to my 4th reason why I don't think Amazon is for everyone, is that the struggle continues. There are obstacles that you'll have to push through even after you feel like you've set your foundation. But that's with anything, that is with life in general. You'll just have to keep pushing. But you have your goals, so set forth and try to reach them. Even with all of the struggles, there are of course positives associated with it as well. So last month, for example, was my biggest sales month, and I couldn't have done that without all of that struggle beforehand, and I'm really happy that that happened. So if I had to start all over again, I don't know if I would have ordered so many boxes. I felt like that was the main thing that set me back a bit and made me nervous about the process. It was a massive initial startup cost that I didn't have. The $10,000 was quite over my head. But selling on Amazon has been such a rewarding experience, even though I made that massive mistake of spending $10,000 on a product. I did push the product as much as I could to make back that money. And in fact, last month was a record sales month for me. It was the biggest month I've had to date, and it helped me pay my bills and make a little bit more profit to end the year. So I'm very grateful for that. I learned one surprising technique that helped me reach that record sales month, and I talk about it all in the video linked here. Check it out, and thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll see you next week.